Before we bring up your headliner tonight, we have some special guests here for you. Some of the staff from Kids Crossing, they've actually prepared a couple of jokes for you guys, so we're going to bring up the staff to perform for y'all. Now, ladies and gentlemen, your first staff performer of the night, please put your hands together for Mr. Ben Schock.
Go, Ben! I moved out of the way and I lost some weight recently and I don't want to block any of you. So yeah, Ben, I work at Kids Crossing. I've been there about 20 years. It's a fun place to work. It's a great place to work.
Lift the mic up, Ben.
Lift the mic up? Yeah. That's my coach back there. That voice anyway. But yeah, we worked at Kids Crossing about 20 years. Predominantly female staff there, so I really enjoyed not having to think for myself for the last 20 years. And just do what I was told quietly. But I got really good at moving heavy things, killing bugs, all the things I went into student loan debt for. But you can see we're wearing name tags. We know who we are. This is so Lee can keep track of us. I don't have to tell you he's old because you have eyes. He did ask us to start this at 4:30 for an early bird special 2 for 1, but not available. I also had to break the news that FERS doesn't no longer exist. So he's trying to catch up. I called him on his home phone. You see some friends of the agency here. Tom House is here. He used to be Santa for us. Guess who's Santa now? That's the revenge for Gulf of America. So, you take Gulf of Mexico, I'm taking Santa. We also have friends from the state here. Probably tell us everything we did wrong. So I appreciate that. We have some friends from some counties. We love you guys. We provide nothing but ultimate customer service for you and serve all your needs throughout the end of time. So appreciate you coming and supporting the cause. So, we do have a person from some friends from the state here. They monitor us. They give us our license. They let us do business. I'm glad they're here to get to laugh at us because we laugh at them behind their backs. So, thank you. So yeah, like I said, I worked at Kids Crossing about 20 years. We have some friends together. We put a little group. Heather, Jennifer, Natalie, Lee. Lee's the director of Kids Crossing. He's been there probably since biblical times. But it's great working with Lee. You think he's getting older, he's kind of getting forgetful, and that's not the case. He remembers everything and likes to remind you of a lot of things that maybe you said or didn't say, but as long as he thinks it happened, I go along with it. But yeah, the good thing about working with him is you kind of, you don't know what you're going to get yourself into. He says whatever he wants, and most of the time I just cross my fingers and hope I won't have to do any damage control or explain anything away. But most of the time I can just say he didn't take his meds today. But anyway, I'm not from Colorado Springs. I'm originally from down south, Pueblo. It's nice to, I'm from Pueblo. It's not as bad as people think. It's a pretty nice place to live. I try to avoid the bad parts of Pueblo, so that's why I work up here. Anyway, recently became a father. So my son's 16. I've been a lot of fathering. No, I have. The good thing about having a 16-year-old son now is I can blame him for a lot of things. I don't have to be innocent. I just have to reasonable doubt. Like, who didn't flush the toilet? Could have been me. I mean, there's other people here. So I never have to be innocent, but also I just have to plant that seed and kind of hide it. So. But anyway, beautiful Pueblo. As you can tell, I'm probably deportable because I look so long. But I'm legally here, so appreciate that. But I'm probably the DEI hire of Kids Crossing. They're like this community outreach. I hire this kid from Pueblo. What's the worst that could happen? 20 years later, never left. So, but it's ice is a real thing. It's scary. I've been afraid to do any yard work, so I haven't mowed my lawn for about 3.5 months. The excuse worked for a little while. I'm not sure my wife's going to go for it anymore, so I'll have to find a white guy to come mow my lawn. Anyway, for now, I'm going to get on to the next performer. We're going to have Natalie Rivera come up.
Bring this down, I'm pretty short. Hello everyone, how are we doing tonight? If your name is Mike, would you please raise your hand? Okay, thank you, awesome. That concludes our mic check. Amen, love that guy, awesome. Love our director of recruitment, but him as our MC, that's quite a shock! So I'm short, and that's probably one of the first things you guys can see about me. And so I get a lot of comments and questions like, shouldn't you be in school? Are you really 18? Well, don't the bags under my eyes and my general lack of hope tell you that I'm at least 25? I pay taxes, I rent. Alright, so who likes a good pun? That is all I know how to write, so what's up there? What is the most, it's the best material to go sneaking around in? Well, it's leather because it's made of hide. Did you guys hear about the explosion at the cheese factory the other day? Yeah, all that was left was debris. It's a Gouda thing, everyone got out alive. So, you can't run through a campground, but you can ram through one because it's past tense. So, I would say that space rocks have more protein than Earth rocks because they're meatier. Space stuff about the science. So, the other day I tried eating a clock, and I gotta say, the process was really time-consuming. There are two fish that are sitting in a tank, and the first fish turns to the second fish and says, I don't know how to drive this thing, because it's a tank. Two soldiers are sitting in a tank. The first soldier turns to the second soldier and says, Thank you. So when I was in high school, I knew this one guy who was a trombone player, and this guy was the most arrogant, self-absorbed motherfucker I've ever met in my life. Yeah, this guy, he really liked tooting his own horn. And not long ago, well, it's long ago now, it's been a decade or so, when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, I was reading a chapter book, and lo and behold, I strike gold, an uncensored swear word. And so, as like a 9-year-old, I have to run and tell my mom, look, Mom, I caught a bad word. And I'm like, Mommy, the C word is in my book. And she's, what are you reading? Like, can you whisper the word to me? And so I go, it's crap. Losing it. She's all, oh my God, that's hysterical, that's fantastic, awesome. And I was like, oh my gosh, settle down, cunt. It's not that funny. Oh, hold on, that word. Speaking of cunts, Jennifer Miller.
All right, job.
Natalie's name is getting, no. Natalie's name is being written down as awesome Natalie. Yeah, your file is being burned in there. So, Jesus Christ. So, and then, all right, I've been with Kids Crossing for about 9 years now, almost, and administrative manager as a clipboard tonight. So I'm not really going to tell jokes. I'm just going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you funny experiences of why nobody wants my fucking job. Thank you, Caesar. Thank you. Love you. Love you. Thank you. All right. So my first week on the job, I don't know anybody's name. They sort of know mine, right? So someone walks up to my office and don't know my name, don't know theirs. Just walk up to the door and they're like, you know what? The toilet paper is too hard. And I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, then don't wipe and crush your ass so hard. Right? So later on in the afternoon, somebody comes up. I don't know them, they don't know me. And they're like, you know what? And I know this is because I'm new, right? They're just throwing shit at me. And I'm like, they're like, the tissue, the toilet, or not the tissue. Yeah, thank you. The Kleenex are too rough. And I'm like, then stop, shove them up your nostrils. All right, so anyway. So I'm ordering softer stuff, right? So then let's move on to onboarding, which is always fun. So I'm asking them, so onboarding is a process of giving paperwork, and at the end of that, I ask them for their social security and driver's license and things like that. And so I'm asking, and somebody always is like, I don't have my social security card, and my answer to them is always like, but you're 48. And I'm like, but my mom has it. And I'm always like, but you're 48. And I don't understand. And so then, of course, okay, why is this license expired? And they're like, well, I'm sorry it's expired. And I go, okay, well, I hope you don't get pulled over on your way to the DMV because you need to bring me back a current license. Please, please. So then, of course, a younger person always will email me or come to my office and say, I don't understand why my paycheck was so low. Who is FICA? FICA is the reason why the toilet paper is so rough. And then there's always the knock on my door that says, hey, Jennifer, the copier is jamming again. And I'm like, oh, what song is it playing today? And then, of course, I didn't know that Taylor, my lovely receptionist, my God, I love her. She's my second grade. She's my second grade. I couldn't do it without her. But she started, and I didn't know she was doing it, she started making a little list of things she hears me whisper to myself. Or I probably don't whisper it because then she wouldn't hear me. I think I'm saying it really loud. So one of them is, I don't know your goddamn password. Another one is, you didn't take your card with you and you're at the doctor's office right now? Just use Google. Do you have a plunger? Read the instructions. I don't know how to set it up. What is it now? I'm not going crazy, am I? Don't add me to an email that I don't even know why I'm included. And the one that I didn't know I even said, can I go home now? And I'm just going to close on a story. This happened to me about 5 months after I started. So everybody that works at Kids Crossing knows that my #1 problem child is the building. It's not the employees, it's the building. The building is my bane of existence. So it was this summer, it was very, very hot, and very hot. And Lee and Terry were in Mexico, and Amy and Zach were in the basement at the time, and they come upstairs and they tell me there's a horrible smell downstairs. And I'm like, what does it smell like? And they're like, well, it's just smelling. And I'm like, you can imagine what it smelled like. Somebody tell me what it smelled like. Shit! And so of course, I've got heels on, I've got skirts, and I'm walking down the stairs. And as soon as I get to the bottom of the stairs, my heels just hit like squish. And I open the door at the bottom of the stairs, and there's just water, and it's brown. And I close the door, and I'm like, oh God, what do I do? So I went upstairs and I asked like Hillary, and I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, well, you gotta like call somebody. And I said, well, I don't know what to do. So I called Terry's cell number, and I knew they were away, but I didn't know if they actually gotten to Mexico yet. And so Terry answers, and I said, okay, well, so there's smelly water coming up in the basement, and I got in the vendor book, and I called the plumber that was in the vendor book, and he said that they hydrojet the line, and it's going to cost $1,500. And I was new. I didn't know if I could spend that much money. And so she said, no, do it. I mean, there's stuff coming. And I said, okay. So they hydrojetted the line, but because it was so clogged, it came flying back into the building. And so, yeah. So, and it came within like a millimeter of flooding the entire basement. So instead of it didn't come in, it came out into the stairwell of the basement steps. And so the basement drain at the bottom of the steps was clogged, and we couldn't get that sucked back out. So for 2 months during that hot summer, we waited for it to evaporate. It was and nasty for the whole summer. So to say that sometimes my job is shitty is an understatement. That's my
My name is Heather, and I'm a clinical therapist. school librarian, and I want to tell you about that today. So you might be imagining like scholastic book fairs and Clifford and like the Pizza Hut bucket thing. Yeah, it wasn't like that at all. It was like a shit show. It was like the wildest job I've ever had in my life. These kids were like the most unpredictable kids. It was insane. So while I was working at the school, I worked on the weekends at Toys R Us. And I knew that at some point these worlds were going to collide. And I had a plan. So plan A was like if kids came into Toys R Us on the weekends, I would just ignore them. I would hide, I would act like I knew who they were. And that worked pretty well. But when they did like recognize me, I would say, oh, you found me. You know my little secret, this is where I come on the weekends. And this was all good until this little girl, Hannah, in 3rd grade, she saw me. Fast forward to Monday. She comes up to me, I'm at recess duty with these other teachers. She comes up to me, she's like, hey, Miss Heather, remember when we saw each other this weekend? Remember our secret of when we were kids? I didn't tell anybody our secret. No. So that is how I learned that you never ever use the word secret with a kid because they will make you look like the worst person. So Hannah had an older brother. And I think that their family talked about politics a lot because he had some interesting political views. One day I'm at school. I'm cleaning the gym. He keeps kicking this ball over to where I'm working. And I was like, if you kick the ball over here again, I'm going to take it. So he grabs the ball and he runs away, yelling, I'm sick and tired of being oppressed by the 1%. Me? Okay, well, first, like, thank you. But also, like the 1% of what? Like, the 1% of, like, childless women who spends, like, every day of the week, like, handling kids that were mine? But, the kids really love library, and it was a lot of fun. Some of the genres that they were really interested in of books were, like, Greek gods, you know, because they're all naked. Nursing baby animals and the moms, you know, that's one part. Sumo wrestlers and their like little things. They like had this sixth sense where they could like find these books. Like, they could pick out borderline inappropriate books. One day this kid came up to me and he is like, Miss Heather, this book has the word damn in it. And I was like, go and tell all your friends. Kid. Like, if you read a 200-page chapter book just to find the word damn, like I win. Like literally wins, right? I'm glad you guys are excited about this because I think instead of banning books, we should be going in the opposite direction. We should be sprinkling like cuss words and like tiger nibbles in like all the kids' books, right? Like our reading scores would skyrocket. They would love this, right? I should run for president. I'm gonna make America great again. With my tiger nibbles. I had a lot of stuff to do in the library. Oh wait, I want to tell you another story first. So one day I'm reading, and I have all the kids sitting on the carpet, and there's this little guy, and he has a hoodie on, and he's like doing this in his hoodie. And I was like, hey, what you doing over there? What you got going on? And he pulls this smoosh bag of blueberries out of his hoodie, and I was like, oh no, that's a disaster, we have to go put that in the trash. And he's like, no, I've been like working on it all day. And he's like, so I'm like, okay, fine, put it on my desk. I'm gonna do like this. So at the end of class, he goes to the desk and he grabs it, he's walking out the door, and I was like, hey, what are you gonna do with that? And he's like, I'm making wine. It's like a good like entrepreneurial skill, or like a good prison skill. So yeah, and these are all real stories, by the way. These are all very real people, so you might know some of them. So here in our community. So there were a lot of things that I had to do in the library besides like just handling kids. So sometimes I would just put a movie on to phone it in. And one day I have this movie on, I'm like typing on my desk. And this little guy looks over at me and he waves at me and I wave at him and then he goes, so I'm like, weeds. So I call him up to my desk and I was like, where'd you learn that? And he's like, on the bus. I was like, what do you think that means? And he's like, it means I love you. No, it doesn't mean I love you. And he's like, well, what does it mean? I'm like, I can't tell him, right? But I can't have him like running around the school telling everybody he loves them. So I was like, it means a dirty word. It means like shit. Like, I know you can't like say shit to a little kid, but it was like a crisis. So I think about him a lot now, and I think he's probably like 12 years old. And I wonder if that gesture is still a part of his vocabulary. He's like, oh my god, this macaroni and cheese tastes like... My stomach hurts so bad, I hope I don't... my pants! I said, I do my cow, we're gonna be fired! So, my last week at this job, like, I am done, I'm about to move on with my life to bigger and better things. I'm a recess duty again, and my job is to sit with the kids on the wall who lost recess. And there's this little guy, and his name's Oscar, and he's a kindergartner, and he's kind of like an old man. And he's like got this like hunchback, and he's just like mean up, stalling all the time. And he like really wants me to know like he doesn't like being against the wall losing his recess. So he's like pacing back and forth, and I kind of ignore him. And then he takes his belt off, and he starts hitting his leg with it. And I was like, Oscar goes against the wall. And he's like, no! I hate you! I'm gonna pull down your pants and beat your ass from one side of the playground to the other! So it's my last week, right? I'm done. I was like, I got done. I was like, do it, Oscar. Go ahead. Beat my ass. From one side of the playground to the other. And he like starts backing up, and you can tell like the gears are like spinning in his head, and he's like thinking about the logistics of this, and like he knows he can't do it, like it's not gonna work, but he can't like lose his power. So he's like, no, but I still hate you. I don't want to, but I hate you. Like, oh, you scared me, Oscar. You scared me so bad I never want to come back to this school again. And I did it, and I don't care. Thank you guys.
I think we need to make sure we do a background check again. A little sketchy. Tell me at standards. The last person to perform tonight for our little group is Lee Osterley. Someone wake him up real quick. Don't run, Lee. There's a ticket prices. You have to get paid by the hour.
Lee Osterley!
Thanks, Ben. And so, as many of you know, Ben has this amazing reputation for being a nice guy. And well-deserved reputation. Just a nice guy. And I have to admit, though, that there's times where it just irritates the shit out of me. So, I've spent my entire professional career taking on the bureaucrats, speaking truth to power. And I know that that can piss some people off sometimes. And so then here comes Ben, taking on the bureaucrats, speaking truth to power, killing it, killing them with kindness. And I'm like, who knew? So I put him in charge, primarily of dealing with our bureaucrat friends. And then speaking of our bureaucrat friends. There are some here tonight. And I want to say thank you for coming. There's one in particular. I was in a meeting a few weeks ago, and it came up that I was performing, and he said to the group, to me, that Osterley promised not to make fun of me. And I'm like, I don't remember making that promise. And then, remembering who I'm talking to, and then he pointed out, I was like, no, Osterley, you do remember that. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And so, but I want to thank him for coming back this year. Shows what a good sport he is. And then the bureaucrat, they're just not any regular bureaucrats. And I hate that word because it has a negative connotation, and that's not how I'm using it. And you know, I've been around long enough that I remember when they did actual work. Instead of like going to meetings about the work or sending emails about the work, they did some of that actually. And I can see them in 5 years, you know, co-chairing a work group on trying to figure out why we haven't been able to change anything in the last 5 years. And so there's another change we made at Kids Crossing. I wanted to take advantage of Ben being this super nice guy, so I put him in charge of handling complaints. And as I don't think it's going to come any surprise to anybody that I may not be the best person to be handling complaints. And there was one recently where a staff member, a young woman employee at Kids Crossing, complained about one of my jokes. And it's the only time that anybody's ever complained about any of my material. And it's the joke where I talk about putting up a flyer in my neighborhood, a big picture of a beautiful cat, and big letters that says "cat found," and then you get up closer, and then you can read, "Thanks, he was delicious." And I thought she was kidding, you know, but she wasn't. She was very upset. And if you could see her, you know, you would not think she was a cat lady. And it's okay. I looked it up. Cat ladies are not a protected class. So it's okay that, you know, well, it's legal to make fun of a cat lady or to even discriminate against her. So I fired her. No, I didn't fire her. I had Hillary do it. I made Ben do it.
She still works here.
She still works here. What I've done in response to her complaint is come up with some new cat jokes. So, you know, have you noticed that, have you ever seen a therapy cat? You know, and I'm not saying cats couldn't, you know, comfort somebody. I'm not saying that, you know, cats couldn't help somebody through a traumatic time. I'm just saying they won't. They're so cute, fuzzy little sociopaths. And, you know, there's therapy dogs. You know, you see them everywhere. You know, hospitals, courtrooms, airports. And you know what they are because they're vests. Can you imagine putting a vest on a cat? You know, you could be the one that would be in need of an emotional or medical support, perhaps. So, and, well, thank you. So, thank you, Stephen. So, you know, therapy dogs heal PTSD. Therapy cats would cause PTSD. And so, where was I? So you've all heard the saying that we are what we eat, and it doesn't make any sense to me. But I believe that we are what we watch, especially in our formative years. I watched a lot of Looney Tunes back in the day when I was growing up. There's a tremendous influence on me. You know, Bugs Bunny, very sarcastic, didn't take crap off of anybody. You know, mind you, anybody. And then we had Wile E. Coyote, who got blown up every week, going off cliffs, pianos dropping on him, exploding. Every week he came back for more. The clinical term for that is resilience. And so I've been asked often, like, you know, how I dealt with, you know, all that I've had to deal with in the last 10 or so years. And, you know, it was helpful. He was helpful, what can I say? But, you know, the cartoons were different then, you know, not like today. You know, I'll give you an example. Shh, be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits. That, of course, is Elmer Fudd. A little fat guy with significant anger issues, running around with a shotgun. But not just carrying the shotgun around, but shooting Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny on a regular basis. You know, you couldn't do that in a cartoon now. And then I'm curious as to what was up with Looney Tunes and speech impediments. I already mentioned, you know, Elmer Fudd. Then you had a Porky Pig with his stutter. And then Sylvester and Stallone. I'm going to work on that. Could be something. But Sylvester and Tweety, who always appeared together in cartoons. And Tweety famously, I thought, but he died. I did see him, but he died. And then there was Sylvester with his puffer and fuckatage. And so, you know, you couldn't have those cartoons today. You know, I looked up Louie. Louie makes Looney Tunes look like they were directed by Quentin Tarantino. So, I think that, you know, as I got older, then I was watching more educationally oriented material. Freshman in the dorm, I would come back after class, round up the guys, and we'd go down to the dorm lounge to do our homework. Just kidding. I'd come back from class, round the guys up, we do a couple bowls, and then we go down to the dorm lounge and watch Sesame Street. And, you know, you just picture it, you know, 10, 12 college guys stoned out of their minds, watching Ernie in his bathtub, singing along with Ernie, feel free. Rubber ducky, he's the one. He shows us all that's fun. So, and then, you know you're pretty high when you can't keep up with some Muppets Society. That's kind of sad. And then I remember my first day of algebra class, my freshman year, and being really confused. It's like, since when did numbers start hanging out with letters? Didn't learn that in Sesame Street. And so, and again, many of you may go, well, you know, we watched Sesame Street growing up, but it's not the same Sesame Street. And I can prove that. The Cookie Monster now eats vegetables. So that's pretty sad. So where was I? Oh yeah, Ben making fun of me about being older, and you know, that's okay. It's like, you know, recently he called me out, you know, okay boomer. You know, like that's an insult. You know, from Mr. TikTok. You know. whatever that is. And so, but I'm proud to be an old boomer. One of the happier guys, roaming the earth right now. And I think, many of you that are younger shouldn't be so smug about it. 75, I'm in my early 70s, and 75% of you aren't going to make it into your So look around. If you're at a table of 4, how long you start making it? And I understand if you thought that was due to health issues, health problems, and that's certainly a significant factor. But what's also starting to become a factor is how old boomers are killing the younger ones. When they get yelled at, okay? So, and I'm also okay with boomer as a term. There's terms I don't like geezer or old fogey, silver key, citizen, old fart. Old fart's kind of fun. At least my wife seems to think so. Until I really let one go. So finally, I guess I just want to say that, if any of my jokes offended anyone tonight, I think you can just go, contact them. He'll take care of everything.